The air was thick with the scent of damp leaves and wood smoke, as the town prepared for its annual harvest festival. But beneath the cheerful lights and laughter, a shadow lurked, an ancient evil awakened by the rising blood moon. Teenagers gathered at the abandoned mill on the outskirts, daring each other to explore the crumbling building. Among them was Sarah, a brave girl with a sharp mind and steady nerves. As the group entered, the door creaked shut behind them, plunging them into darkness. Suddenly a chilling scream echoed, and one by one, the teens vanished into the night. Sarah, heart-pounding, uncovered the legend of a vengeful spirit trapped in the mill, a slasher who had been wronged decades ago. Armed only with a flickering flashlight and her resolve, she faced the ghostly figure in a desperate fight for survival. The blood moon cast an eerie red glow through shattered windows as Sarah outwitted the killer, sealing the spirit back into the mill's depths. When dawn broke, the town awoke to silence. The harvest festival was canceled, but Sarah emerged, forever changed, haunted by the memory of the night when the blood moon brought terror to Miller's Creek. As the first pale light of dawn seeped through the broken windows of the mill, Sarah's hands trembled around the flashlight. Her breath came in ragged gasps, each exhale visible in the cold, stale air. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant caw of crows settling on the rusted beams above. She took a cautious step forward, eyes darting to every shadow. The floorboards beneath her creaked ominously. Sweat mixed with the grime on her skin as she forced herself to move deeper into the heart of the mill. The ghostly figure had vanished, but the lingering sense of dread clung to her like a second skin. Suddenly a faint whisper brushed her ear, a voice cold and hollow, barely audible, but unmistakably there. Sarah spun around, shining her light into the dark corners. Nothing but the rotting wood and dust motes swirling in the beam. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she refused to let fear take hold. This place was a prison, and she was the key to locking it away. She noticed the floor beneath the old grinding wheel was cracked, a jagged hole revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air grew colder as she approached, each step down sending a shiver through her spine. At the bottom, the beam caught a faded symbol scrawled in what looked like dried blood, a warning, or perhaps a curse. The walls seemed to close in, and the silence turned suffocating. Sarah's fingers brushed against a rusted latch embedded in the stone wall. With a creak, a hidden door swung open, revealing a small chamber. Inside, relics of the past lay scattered, broken tools, tattered clothing, and a diary stained with age and despair. Her eyes fell on the name scrawled repeatedly. Elijah Crow. She flipped through the fragile pages, piecing together the tragic tale of the man who became the slasher. A wronged soul, consumed by vengeance, condemned to haunt the mill until justice was served. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. Panic surged, but Sarah clenched her jaw and faced the darkness. She whispered, "It's over, Elijah. Rest now." A chilling wind swept through the chamber, carrying a final mournful sigh. The oppressive weight lifted, and Sarah felt the first true breath of freedom since entering the mill. With trembling hands, she pushed the door open and ascended the stairs. Outside, the blood moon faded, replaced by the soft light of dawn. The town beyond seemed peaceful, unaware of the nightmare that had just ended. Sarah stepped into the morning, forever marked by the horrors of the night, yet stronger, ready to face whatever darkness might come next. Sarah's boots crunched on the frost-hardened ground outside the mill. The chill bit through her jacket, but she barely noticed. Her mind was still tangled in the nightmare she'd just escaped. The town was waking slowly, birds beginning their morning songs, but the streets were eerily empty. The harvest festival was clearly abandoned. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a sharp vibration that startled her. She pulled it out with trembling hands. A message from her best friend, Mike, blinked on the screen. "Where are you? Everyone's worried. The cops showed up at the mill. What happened? Sarah swallowed hard. How could she explain this? The mill was supposed to be deserted. The disappeared teens, the ghost, they'd never believe her. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind her. She whipped around, flashlight shining into the growing daylight. Mike stood there, face pale and eyes wide. We heard screams, he said breathlessly. We thought that something terrible happened, Sarah finished for him, voice barely above a whisper. Mike glanced at the mill's shadowed entrance. Did you see anything? Anyone? Sarah shook her head. Just something evil. But it's over now. Mike frowned, but said nothing more. Instead, he slipped an arm around her shoulders, steadying her. We should get you somewhere safe, he said. As they walked away from the mill, Sarah cast one last look back. The blood moon was gone, but the mill's dark silhouette seemed to watch her, waiting, for now, silent, but never truly gone. The horror of the night would haunt her forever, but so would her courage, and the fight, she knew, wasn't quite finished. Sarah and Mike moved quickly through the empty streets of Miller's Creek, the weight of silence pressing down on them. Leaves rustled underfoot as they passed shuttered houses, the early morning haze casting long shadows. Do you think the others? Mike's voice faltered. Sarah shook her head, gripping her jacket tighter. I don't know, but we have to find out. They reached the town square where a small crowd had gathered. Parents, police officers, and a few remaining teens, faces pale and eyes wide with fear. Sarah recognized some of the faces from the mill, their friends who hadn't gone inside. A sheriff approached them, his expression grim. We found evidence inside, he said quietly. Signs of struggle and blood, but no bodies. Sarah's heart sank. They're still inside? The sheriff nodded slowly. We're organizing a search party. If you saw anything at all, it could help. Sarah glanced at Mike, then back at the sheriff. There's something else, she said, voice steady, despite the fear gnawing at her. The mill is cursed. There's a spirit trapped inside, a man named Elijah Crow. He's the one behind this. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The sheriff frowned. A spirit? Sarah held up the diary she had taken from the mill. This explains everything. The anger, the vengeance, it's tied to that place. We have to find a way to end it for good. Suddenly a distant scream pierced the morning air, sharp, terrified, and desperate. Heads whipped around toward the sound. The crowd froze. Sarah's breath caught. The nightmare wasn't over. This way, she whispered, gripping Mike's arm. Together they ran toward the source, the mill looming behind them like a dark heartbeat, waiting to strike again. Sarah and Mike burst through the underbrush, sliding to a halt at the edge of the mill's shadow. The scream had come from the back, near the old loading dock. The air was thick with the metallic stench of blood. They found Jenny, one of the missing teens, pinned to the ground by a figure cloaked in darkness. Elijah Crow's spectral form, his face a twisted mask of rage and sorrow. His hands were like claws, digging into her flesh. Mike lunged forward, trying to pull Jenny free, but Elijah's eyes snapped open, black voids filled with consuming hatred. A guttural growl escaped his lips, and with a terrifying speed, he swung an invisible blade through Mike's chest. Mike crumpled, blood blooming rapidly across his shirt. Sarah screamed, rushing to his side, but Elijah's shadow loomed over her next. You cannot save them, the spirit hissed, voice like the scraping of bone. Desperation surged through Sarah. From her pocket, she pulled the diary, whispering the final words of the curse she had found. The mill shook violently, dust and debris raining down. Elijah roared, a sound that shook the very earth, before his form shattered into 1,000 shards of darkness. Jenny collapsed, gasping for air. Mike's lifeless eyes stared blankly at the sky. Sarah sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face, not just for the friends lost, but for the evil that would never truly die. The blood moon had faded, but its mark was written in the scars left behind. A brutal reminder that some horrors refused to rest. And in the shadows of Miller's Creek, the whisper of Elijah Crow's name lingered.